Have you ever felt exhausted, not because life is hard, but because of the people you stay loyal to? Not enemies, not strangers, but people you've known for years. There is a quiet kind of damage that doesn't come with shouting, betrayal, or open conflict. It comes through obligation, through guilt, through staying when your inner voice keeps telling you something is wrong. Stoic philosophy warns us about this. Not everyone who is close to you is meant to stay close forever, and not every form of loyalty is a virtue. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that our peace depends on what we allow to shape our inner world. And sometimes what harms us most is not what we fight, but what we tolerate. In this video, we'll explore 8 signs you may be staying loyal to people who are quietly destroying you. This isn't about blame. It's about clarity. Because awareness is where self-respect begins. 1. You feel drained. After every interaction, one of the clearest signs you're staying loyal to the wrong people is this. You feel exhausted after being around them. Not angry, not heartbroken, just drained. There may be no arguments, no obvious disrespect, nothing dramatic enough to justify leaving. And yet, every interaction costs you something. Stoic philosophy takes this seriously because energy is not emotional fluff. It is mental clarity. It is focus. It is the capacity to act with reason. When someone consistently leaves you depleted, it means your mind is working overtime in their presence. You are filtering your words, managing their reactions, carrying emotional weight that does not belong to you. That is not connection. That is quiet labor. Many people mistake this exhaustion for normal relationship effort. They tell themselves, this is just how relationships are. But the Stoics would disagree. Epictetus taught that anything which repeatedly disturbs your inner equilibrium deserves examination. Not judgment, examination. Ask yourself this. Do you feel more centered after spending time with this person, or less? If the answer is consistently less, your body and mind are giving you information your loyalty keeps ignoring. This kind of drain often hides behind familiarity. Long history, shared memories, roles you've played for years. You may not even realize how much energy you're losing until you step away and feel the contrast. The silence feels lighter. Your thoughts slow down. Your chest loosens. That is not coincidence. That is feedback. A Stoic does not accuse the other person, nor do they dramatize the situation. So they simply acknowledge reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote that your mind should remain self-contained, independent of the actions of others. But when you consistently leave interactions fragmented and tired, something is interfering with that independence. The mistake many people make is believing loyalty means enduring this drain indefinitely. But Stoicism does not glorify endurance without reason. Endurance is virtuous only when it serves growth, character, or duty freely chosen. Endurance that slowly erodes your clarity is not strength, it is neglect of the self. The Stoic response here is simple, but not easy. Pause. Observe the pattern, not one interaction, but many. Notice how your body reacts before and after seeing them. Notice how your mind feels when you think about the next interaction. You don't need to confront anyone yet. You don't need to explain anything. You only need to stop lying to yourself about the cost. Because loyalty that drains your energy is not loyalty. It is self-betrayal, wearing the mask of commitment. I respect my energy as I respect my time. 2. Your boundaries are always labeled. Too much. Another sign you're staying loyal to the wrong people is this. Every time you set a boundary, they react as if you've done something wrong. You say no, and they call you selfish. You ask for space, and they accuse you of changing. You protect your time, and they respond with guilt, silence, or subtle anger. Nothing about your boundary is extreme, but to them, it feels threatening. Stoic philosophy is very clear on this point. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are clarity. When someone benefits from unlimited access to you, any limit will feel like rejection, not because you are unreasonable, but because the rules have shifted. Many people confuse discomfort with injustice. They believe that if a boundary makes them uncomfortable, it must be wrong. But Stoicism does not measure truth by comfort. Epictetus taught that freedom begins where external demands lose their authority over your inner choices. A boundary is simply the moment you decide what you will and will not allow to shape your life. Notice the pattern carefully. Before you had boundaries, things felt fine. You were available, flexible, accommodating. The moment you stopped overgiving, tension appeared. That tension is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that the relationship depended on your self-neglect. People who respect you may feel surprised by your boundary, but they adjust. People who rely on your lack of boundaries push back. They may say things like, "You're too sensitive. You've changed. This isn't how you used to be." What they really mean is, "You no longer behave in ways that benefit me." Stoicism does not ask you to argue against these reactions. It asks you to observe them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to waste time defending his character to those who refuse to see it clearly. Your boundary does not require approval to be valid. Another mistake people make is over-explaining boundaries. They believe if they just explain better, the other person will finally understand. But explanation often becomes negotiation, and negotiation quietly turns your boundary into a request. A Stoic boundary is simple, calm, brief. It sounds like, "I'm not available for that. I won't continue this conversation. I need space." No justification. No emotional defense. When someone responds with guilt or withdrawal, that reaction is information, not an emergency. You're not responsible for regulating how others feel about limits that protect your well-being. Loyalty that requires you to erase your boundaries is not loyalty. It is submission. And Stoicism never equates virtue with submission. The goal is not to push people away. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself in order to keep them close. My boundaries protect my peace. 3. Guilt is the main reason. You stay. One of the most dangerous reasons people stay loyal is not love. It's guilt. You don't stay because the relationship nourishes you. You stay because leaving feels wrong, heavy, like a moral failure. You tell yourself things like, "I owe them. They've done so much for me. I can't just walk away." At first, this sounds honorable, responsible, even virtuous. But Stoic philosophy draws a hard line here. Loyalty that exists only because of guilt is no longer loyalty. It is emotional debt, and emotional debt slowly turns into self-betrayal. Epictetus taught that no one has power over your inner life unless you hand it to them. Guilt is one of the most effective ways people gain that power, often without intending to. When guilt keeps you in place, you stop choosing, you endure. And an endurance without choice is not virtue in Stoicism. It is bondage. Ask yourself this question honestly, without justifying the answer. If guilt disappeared tomorrow, would you still choose to stay? If the answer is no, then what you're calling loyalty is actually fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being seen as ungrateful, fear of disappointing someone who expects access to you. Many people confuse being a good person with never leaving anyone behind. But Stoicism never taught that goodness requires self-erasure. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Guilt feeds on imagined accusations that may never come, but still control us. You imagine how they'll feel, what they'll say about you, how you'll look if you step away. So you stay, and not because you want to, but because you're afraid of the story that might be told about you. Here is the Stoic correction. You are responsible for your character, not for managing the emotional reactions of others. Someone may feel hurt when you step back. That does not mean you've done something wrong. Guilt becomes toxic when it overrides truth, when it convinces you that your well-being is less important than preserving someone else's comfort. A Stoic does not act out of cruelty, but neither do they act out of fear. They ask, is this relationship aligned with virtue, honesty, and mutual respect? If the answer is no, guilt is not a reason to stay. It is a signal to reevaluate. The shift is subtle but powerful. Now, you don't say, I'm abandoning them. You say, I'm choosing myself without hatred. You don't need to justify that choice endlessly. You don't need to dramatize it. You simply stop trading your peace for moral approval. Because loyalty that requires constant guilt is not loyalty at all. It is a contract signed against yourself. Mantra. I choose freely, or I do not choose at all. 4. Your growth makes them uncomfortable. One of the most revealing signs you're staying loyal to the wrong people is this. Your growth makes them uneasy. You don't announce your progress. You don't brag. You simply start living differently. You become more disciplined, more selective with your time, more intentional with your words, and suddenly, something shifts. They joke about your habits. They downplay your effort. They say things like, you've changed, with a tone that isn't curious, but critical. Stoic philosophy is very clear here. Growth exposes alignment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that improvement often brings friction, not applause. Not because growth is wrong, but because it disrupts familiar dynamics. When you grow, you stop playing the role others got used to. You stop being the easy one, the always available one, the one who made others feel comfortable by staying small. Some people don't lose you because you leave. They lose you because you outgrow the version of yourself they preferred. This is not always conscious sabotage. Often, it's insecurity. Your discipline becomes a mirror. Your clarity highlights their stagnation. Your boundaries remind them of the boundaries they avoid setting. And instead of rising to meet you, they try, subtly, to pull you back. They may frame it as concern, or humor, or just being honest. But pay attention to the pattern. Do they support your growth or minimize it? Do they encourage your progress or constantly remind you of who you used to be? Stoicism teaches us not to take this personally, but to take it seriously. You are not obligated to shrink to preserve harmony. And harmony built on self-reduction is not harmony. It is imbalance. Many people stay loyal at this stage because they fear isolation. They worry that choosing growth means choosing loneliness. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. Temporary solitude is not a failure. Permanent self-betrayal is. When your growth makes others uncomfortable, the Stoic response is not confrontation. It is calibration. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to convince them. You simply continue. Continue your discipline. Continue your clarity. Continue your standards. Those aligned will adjust. Those who aren't will fade. Sometimes quietly, sometimes resentfully. That fading is not betrayal. It is the natural consequence of change. A Stoic understands this truth deeply. Not everyone is meant to walk every chapter with you. Some people are part of your foundation, others are part of your transition. Very few are meant to be part of your expansion. Loyalty does not mean freezing your evolution at someone else's comfort level. If staying loyal requires you to stay small, then loyalty has turned against you. And Stoicism never asks you to sacrifice virtue or growth for acceptance. I do not apologize for becoming better. 5. You're always explaining, never understanding. Another clear sign you're staying loyal to the wrong people is this. You keep explaining yourself, but nothing ever changes. You explain your feelings, your boundaries, your decisions. You choose your words carefully. You stay calm. You try to be fair. and still you are misunderstood, or worse, ignored. Stoic philosophy teaches that understanding is revealed through behavior, not words. If someone truly understands you, their actions adjust. If they don't, no amount of explanation will make them care. Seneca warned that wisdom does not shout to be heard. When explanation becomes repetitive, it often signals a refusal to listen, not a lack of clarity. Many people fall into this trap because they believe misunderstanding is accidental. They think, if I just explain it better, they'll get it. But often, the misunderstanding is convenient. Understanding you would require change. It would require accountability. It would require them to give up certain privileges. So instead, they ask you to explain again and again. This creates a subtle power imbalance. You become the one justifying your needs. They become the judge deciding whether those needs are reasonable. Stoicism does not support this dynamic. Clarity does not plead. Truth does not negotiate endlessly. At a certain point, explanation turns into self-defense. And self-defense suggests you believe you're on trial. Ask yourself this question carefully. After all your explanations, do they behave differently? Or do they simply understand your words without respecting your limits? If behavior does not change, explanation has failed its purpose. And this is where many people stay loyal out of hope. Hope that one more conversation will finally fix things. Hope that patience will be rewarded. But Stoicism is grounded in reality, not hope. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to look at things as they are, stripped of emotional narrative. And the reality is simple. People reveal their values through patterns, not promises. The Stoic response here is not silence fueled by resentment. It is silence rooted in clarity. You stop explaining, you start observing, you let actions speak, and you adjust your presence accordingly. This doesn't require anger, it doesn't require confrontation, it doesn't require a final speech. It requires acceptance. Acceptance that being understood is not guaranteed. Acceptance that some people benefit from misunderstanding you. And acceptance that your peace is worth more than endless clarification. Loyalty that demands constant explanation is not loyalty. It is negotiation under emotional pressure. And Stoicism never asks you to negotiate your dignity. You don't need to be understood by everyone to live truthfully. You only need to stop explaining yourself to those who refuse to listen. Mantra. I stop explaining what my actions already make clear. 6. Peace only exists when they're absent. One of the most honest signals you can receive is not emotional. It's physical. Your body tells the truth before your mind does. When certain people are around, your shoulders tense, your thoughts race, your patience thins. But when they're gone, something changes. You breathe more deeply, your mind quiets, your body relaxes without effort. Stoic philosophy treats this as information, not weakness. Epictetus taught that disturbance does not come from events themselves, but from how we experience them internally. When your peace only returns in someone's absence, that experience deserves attention. Many people dismiss this sign. They tell themselves they're being dramatic, too sensitive, unfair. So they override their body's signals with loyalty and obligation. But Stoicism does not ask you to ignore reality in order to appear virtuous. Peace is not laziness, it is alignment. If someone's presence consistently disrupts your inner state, something in that relationship is misaligned, regardless of intentions. This doesn't mean the other person is evil. It doesn't mean they want to harm you. It simply means the dynamic costs you more than it gives. And cost matters. A Stoic measures relationships not by history, but by effect. Ask yourself, do I feel more like myself when they are here, or when they are gone? If the answer is when they are gone, your nervous system is already voting. Many people fear this realization because it feels disloyal. They believe that needing space is a failure of character. But Stoicism rejects this idea. The Marcus Aurelius often withdrew into solitude, not to escape people, but to regain clarity. Distance was not rejection, it was restoration. There is a difference between discomfort that strengthens you and disturbance that erodes you. Stoicism encourages endurance when it builds virtue, but it discourages endurance that fractures the mind. Another mistake people make is waiting for a big enough reason to step back. They look for a fight, a betrayal, a clear villain. But quiet damage rarely announces itself. It accumulates through constant tension, through vigilance, through the absence of ease. You don't need a dramatic justification to protect your peace. You need honesty. The Stoic response here is gentle but firm. You reduce exposure. You create space. You notice what happens next. Does your clarity return? Does your energy stabilize? Does your inner dialogue soften? If so, that is not coincidence. It is confirmation. Peace is not something you earn by tolerating disruption. It is something you protect by choosing wisely. Loyalty that requires you to live in constant tension is not loyalty. It is quiet harm normalized by familiarity. Mantra. Peace is my compass, not my reward. 7. You're loyal to who they used to be. One of the most subtle traps of misplaced loyalty is this. You're not loyal to the person in front of you. You're loyal to who they used to be. You remember how supportive they once were, how close you felt, how much they mattered during a certain chapter of your life. And so you keep giving, hoping that version will return. Stoic philosophy calls this a mistake of perception. We suffer not because people change, but because we refuse to accept that they have. The mind clings to memory because memory feels safe. It is familiar, it carries meaning, but loyalty to the past can quietly imprison the present. Marcus Aurelius warned against confusing what was with what is. Reality demands attention now, not nostalgia. Ask yourself honestly, if you met this person today for the first time, would you choose this relationship? If the answer is no, then something important has already shifted. Many people justify staying by saying, they weren't always like this. As long as I remember the good, I should endure the bad. But Stoicism does not teach endurance for the sake of sentiment. It teaches alignment with truth. People evolve. Sometimes they grow alongside you. Sometimes they grow in opposite directions. Sometimes they don't grow at all. None of this is moral failure. It is change. The danger begins when loyalty demands that you pretend nothing has changed. You excuse current behavior with past kindness. You tolerate present harm because of old support. You trade present clarity for historical gratitude. But gratitude does not require captivity. You can appreciate what someone once gave you without allowing them to continue costing you. A Stoic does not deny the past. They simply refuse to live in it. Notice the internal conflict that arises here. Part of you feels disloyal for seeing clearly. Another part feels exhausted for pretending. This tension is not confusion. It is your conscience asking you to reconcile memory with reality. Stoicism offers a quiet resolution. You honor the past by acknowledging it honestly. You honor yourself by responding to the present truthfully. That may mean redefining the relationship, reducing closeness, or letting it exist only as a memory, not a daily influence. This does not require bitterness. It requires courage. Because letting go of who someone used to be often means letting go of who you were during that time. And that can feel like loss. But Stoicism teaches that clinging to what no longer exists is a greater loss. Loyalty should not chain you to an outdated version of reality. It should support who you are becoming now. If staying loyal means denying what you clearly see, then loyalty has turned into self-deception. And Stoicism never asks you to deceive yourself for the sake of comfort. Mantra: I honor the past without living inside it. 8. Staying feels like obligation, not choice. The final sign is the quietest, but also the most decisive. You don't stay because you want to. You stay because you feel you have to. There is no excitement, no warmth, only responsibility. You tell yourself things like, "It's my role. It's expected of me. This is just what adults do." But Stoic philosophy draws a sharp distinction here. Love, respect, and loyalty only have value when they are chosen. When they are forced by obligation, they begin to corrode the self. Epictetus taught that freedom begins the moment we stop confusing external roles with inner duty. Being a good person does not require constant self-denial. Many people confuse endurance with maturity. They believe that feeling trapped is a sign of responsibility. But responsibility without choice is not virtue, and it is quiet resentment waiting to surface. Notice how obligation feels in the body. It feels heavy, restrictive, draining. Choice, on the other hand, feels grounded, even when it's difficult. Stoicism does not ask you to abandon commitments lightly. It asks you to examine whether a commitment still aligns with reason and virtue. Ask yourself, if no one judged me, would I still choose to stay? If the answer is no, then staying is no longer an act of integrity. It is an act of self-erasure. This is where many people resist Stoic wisdom. They fear that choosing themselves is selfish. But Stoicism does not frame self-respect as selfishness. It frames it as responsibility to one's character. You're not required to remain in relationships that demand the slow disappearance of who you are. You're allowed to choose peace without hatred, distance without drama, clarity without justification. The Stoic response is not impulsive departure. It is deliberate recalibration. You reduce obligations that are no longer chosen. You redefine roles that no longer fit. You step back where staying costs too much. And you do so without resentment, because resentment only proves you stayed too long. Loyalty that survives only through obligation is already broken. It exists in form, not in truth. Stoicism invites you to replace obligation with awareness, and awareness with choice. Because the strongest form of loyalty is not the one that traps you. It is the one you choose freely, without losing yourself in the process. Mantra: I stay by choice, or I step away with clarity. As we come to the end of this reflection, one truth should feel clear. Loyalty is not the same as losing yourself. We've explored 8 signs, not to tell you who to cut off, but to help you see where your energy, peace, and self-respect may be quietly leaking away. Stoic philosophy never asks you to become cold or detached from others. It asks you to become honest with yourself. Honest about how certain relationships affect your inner state. Honest about what you tolerate out of fear, guilt, or habit. And honest about the cost of staying loyal when loyalty no longer aligns with virtue. Remember this: you are not required to stay where your presence demands your silence. You are not obligated to shrink in order to keep others comfortable. And you do not need dramatic conflict to justify choosing peace. So Marcus Aurelius reminded us that a calm mind is built through daily choices, especially the quiet ones no one applauds. Sometimes, the most disciplined act is not endurance, but restraint. Not staying, but stepping back with clarity. If one of these signs resonated with you, don't rush to act. Stoicism is not impulsive. It is deliberate. Start small. Create space. Observe how your mind responds. Ask yourself this simple question: does this relationship support the person I am becoming, or the person I'm afraid to leave behind? If this message helped you see more clearly, let that clarity guide your next step. Comment: I choose peace. if you're ready to protect your inner life with intention. And if you want to continue building strength, clarity, and self-respect through Stoic wisdom, stay with us. Your peace is not something you earn by suffering. It is something you protect by choosing wisely.